Good afternoon. Thank you for watching our Westminster Canterbury Weekly for Thursday, August 26th. Today, I have a couple of updates for you. Then I'll introduce you to Burch, who is our project manager from Gilbane Construction Company. Austin will speak to you about the construction plan for the parking garage. After Austin, Gayle Haglund from the foundation will speak to you about communications. And then our new VP, Vice President of Facilities Management, Jason Collins, has a short update for you on a couple of different campus projects. And then Chaplain David Curtis has our pastoral care segment today. Start out with a quick COVID update. The CMS positivity rate for Henrico County region is at 8.5%, which is a slight increase from last week. And according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the level of community transmission of the virus remains high. Our local rate, Henrico region rate, is slightly lower than the statewide rate. The statewide Virginia rate's currently at about 9.2%. So we're slightly better than that, but still increased slightly. This past week, 2 fully vaccinated assisted living employees tested positive for COVID-19. So that brings a total of 3 employees that are currently recovering from the virus in quarantine at home. Anyone who was exposed to these individuals has already been contacted directly, and thankfully, seriously thankfully, being vaccinated is all of our best defense. Most people that were exposed to the staff do not have to quarantine because of their vaccination status, but are being tested out of an abundance of caution and will be wearing masks. We have had a total of 2 fully vaccinated residents test positive for COVID-19. I've told you about one of those. Last week we told you about the resident of the 8th floor in the tower. We're really happy to say that resident is doing well. Everyone, all the residents and staff who were exposed to that resident, including all the 8th floor residents, have been tested for COVID-19, and we're really, really happy to report that all of the tests are back now and they're all negative. So that's wonderful news, and just really more testimony that the vaccine does protect us from people who might have one of those breakthrough infections that we hear about. On Tuesday earlier this week, a resident who is temporarily residing in the Mary Morton Parsons Health Center tested positive also from COVID-19 after returning from the hospital. And that does seem to be the pattern. People are returning from either the hospital or time away with family and are coming back, and upon return are being tested and testing positive. This most recent resident who's in the health center is experiencing some symptoms and is ill. We are hopeful that the resident will respond to treatment and recover. But for now, that's what we know. We'll let you know more when we have it. I do want to talk to you about the ways you can continue to keep this community, each other, safe and healthy. As we've said many times over the last 18 months, we follow all the guidance that we're given from both CMS, the Centers for Disease Control, and Virginia Department of Health. We are in communication every day with the Virginia Department of Health. Robin Stamey, who's our infection control preventionist, she speaks to VDH every single day about all these new exposures that we're seeing and any new positive cases and that sort of thing. And so we stay very close to the guidance, and the guidance continues to change. Based on that guidance that we get from Virginia Department of Health, we're changing our protocols as it relates to new admissions into Parsons Health Center so that anyone who is a new admission to Parsons Health Center, whether that be from the hospital or from assisted living or independent living, any new admission into Parsons Health Center will be placed into a temporary quarantine with additional contact precautions upon admission until such time as we can get COVID test results back. We just want to make sure everybody who comes back into the nursing facility is tested right away and that no one is unnecessarily exposed. And so new admissions will be tested for COVID-19 upon admission and remain in quarantine until we get those results. Results are coming back very quickly, so it shouldn't be more than a day or so, or a day and a half, maybe 2 days at the tops. And so we think that's the right move. Virginia Department of Health thinks that's the right move, and we have seen that be effective with each of these last cases. This testing at the very front end has worked. So please remember that everyone who enters our campus, staff, visitors, family, contractors, everyone is required to wear a mask in all the public areas. For our residents, we certainly want to encourage you. There is a lot of virus, and we are seeing a lot of these breakthrough infections, so we want to encourage you to wear a mask. On campus, it's optional, but if you're going to be with a group or with individuals and you can't maintain your distance, we certainly want to suggest it's a good idea. When you're out in the community, absolutely wear a mask. It's for your own good and for the good of your friends and family and neighbors. Wear a mask when you're out in the community. While your visitors are certainly welcome, and we encourage you to welcome them to join you in the dining rooms or here in the Sarah Bell November Theater, we do want them, we are going to insist that they wear a mask in the public areas like the halls here in the theater and in other areas. In your apartments, that's up to you. You can do that. That's a decision you make, but in these public areas, all of our visitors need to be masked. We also want to encourage you to encourage your guests and your families to become fully vaccinated before they spend time on campus. That's not something we're going to regulate, at least not right now, but we think it's in your best interest and the best interest of this community if you find out the vaccination status of your guests or your family. If they're not vaccinated, do this community a favor and ensure that they don't spend time in group settings, because that's where it's being spread, is from the unvaccinated to the vaccinated. So if you have family or guests that aren't vaccinated, make them wear a mask and keep your distance from them and keep them out of the common areas, please. So just take that personal responsibility for yourself and for your friends and neighbors. We appreciate it. There's also, we know, a lot of interest in the vaccine, additional dose and the booster shots. And I was on the governor's task force reconvened today for the first time in 6 months. And we had our first meeting, and most of the meeting was about booster shots and the additional dose. And so more to come on that. We understand, we've heard from you, that a few residents have already received a third dose from their doctor's office or other places out in the community that are offering it because of a medical condition that would qualify them as having a compromised immune system. It is certainly possible to go get a third dose. If you've received a third dose, please bring your vaccination card that you got from those first clinics. They should have filled in the third dose on your card. Bring that to the clinic so we can add it to your medical record, or email the details to Lori Yant so she can add it into your personal record. Receiving a third dose because you have a medical condition that leaves you immunocompromised is different than getting a booster shot. And so you're going to hear a lot of misinformation and a lot of confused information, and certainly people are getting third doses. That's what you can do today. Anyone who has a medical condition that qualifies them can go register and go get a third dose. And CVS, Walgreens, they're doing that. And the website even says you're not required to show medical documentation that you require it. But that's called a third dose. That's different than a booster shot. Booster shots are for all the rest of us, and they're scheduled to be available to all adults over the age of 18 beginning September 20th is the target date. Currently, the CDC position, and we heard this morning it could change, but the CDC's position today is that adults over 18 will be eligible for a booster no earlier than 8 months from their last dose. So if you got your dose in January, say January 25th, which was when I got my last dose, I would be eligible on September 25th for my booster shot. A little different than the third dose, which you could go out today and get if you have a medical condition that qualifies you. So hopefully that makes sense. I just said a lot, and I realize it's confusing. Conversations amongst our staff and our support organizations are currently underway regarding how we're going to provide the booster vaccine to both residents and employees of Westminster Canterbury Richmond. We certainly don't have all the details yet because the CDC hasn't informed us exactly if it's going to be 8 months or if it's going to be 6 months. That's the other, it could be 6 months post, which means most of us are already eligible, but what I heard this morning is it's likely going to be 8 months, which would mean September. As soon as we have more information for both residents and staff, we will share it. What I want you to know is that booster shots are coming. They are not likely to be available until after September 20th. If you have a medical condition, and many of you do, that would qualify you, you can go get it through CVS, Walgreens, other retail pharmacies, and probably your primary care physicians, but you could certainly reach out to them and you could get their advice on whether or not you should get it. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, I'm sure I'll hear about it and I'll try to clean up what was confusing. In other news, change in subjects, please make sure you read today's Westminster Canterbury Tales newsletter. It includes some updates on dining and some changes that are happening in terms of Marketplace and Kathleen's. We certainly want you to see that and understand that. Also, if you're interested in signing up for transportation to cultural arts performances downtown, like the Richmond Symphony, the Richmond Ballet, Virginia Opera, there are details in the Tales this week on how to do that. The deadline to sign up for that transportation is approaching, so please take a look at that and sign up accordingly. Other updates, due to a scheduling issue, we will not be having the Rappers Delight food truck on campus tomorrow. We will have the Southern Spud truck here on Tuesday, August 31st for the lunch hour. In anticipation of the high heat advisory on Monday next week, we've decided to move the outdoor concert into the Sarah Bell November Theater. The Latin Jazz Messengers will perform at 7 p.m. here in the Sarah Bell November Theater. Tickets will not be required for this show. And then please remember that next week, this show, Westminster Canterbury Weekly, will take place live on TV 970 and in the Sarah Bell November Theater. Residents are invited to attend in person. In addition to our usual updates, like you see today, we'll have a chance to address comments that have been submitted to the resident suggestion box and take some questions live, hopefully. We hope to see you on Thursday, September 2nd at 3 p.m. here in the theater. If you have questions or comments, you're encouraged to submit them ahead of time to the resident suggestion box, or you could email them to me if you'd like. And then lastly, vibrancy and the garage project. As we continue with our planned improvements around campus, today I'm really excited we can begin to introduce you to some of our project partners and have them tell you about the progress on construction and the plan for construction and help you best understand what you're going to see here around campus today and in the coming months. So at this point, I'd like to introduce you to Austin Burch. Austin Burch is our project manager from the Gilbane Construction Company. Austin.
Thank you, John. So, as John mentioned, my name is Austin Burch, and I'm with Gilbane Building Company, and I will be the project manager for both the parking garage and the promenade renovation. In addition to myself, we've got 2 other full-time members on site with the Gilbane construction company, and that is going to be Mark Hillard and Ed Pinkerton, so you will see them around frequently as well. I was also on the Spiritual Center project, so I'm excited to be back at Westminster Canterbury on these upcoming exciting projects. I just wanted to take a few moments of your time today to discuss a few topics, starting with safety, construction progress review, and a unique piece of equipment that we'll be utilizing for the parking deck project. So beginning with safety, safety is our project team's and overall company's #1 priority for all projects. That starts from the interior construction group and then out to the residents, staff, etc. Each trade contractor brought on site must go through the Gilbane-Henderson safety orientation prior to starting work on site. The Westminster Code of Conduct is also included with each safety orientation so they understand the rules and regulations of the campus. While on site, full PPE, short for personal protective equipment, must be worn at all times. This consists of a hard hat, safety glasses, a reflective vest, gloves, and steel-toed shoes. In addition to PPE, we also have construction barriers and boundaries that have been set up for both the parking deck and promenade. These are put in place for the safety of our workers as well as the staff and residents of Westminster Canterbury. With that being said, this work is taking place in your backyard, and we completely understand the curiosity and are continuing to work with the Westminster Canterbury and JLL team to provide a safe means of showing progress along the construction schedule. Again, out of abundance of caution, we do ask that the residents avoid walking and biking in the project areas, including the employee parking lots and Parsons Health Center, as well as the Child Development Center entrance. So a way that we propose and have done in the past to provide a safe means of progress of the construction sequencing is through photos and videos. So we have teamed up with Westminster Canterbury, who has retained a vendor that tracks construction photos and videos throughout the duration of the project. This vendor works directly with our construction team to ensure critical and unique portions of the construction photos and videos are documented and will be shared with the Westminster Canterbury communications team, which will in return be shared with you all. So also want to touch base on a unique portion of this project that you did not see on the Spiritual Center construction, and that has to deal with the slide that is shown is a piece of equipment that is going to be utilized for soil improvements for the parking garage, and that's going to happen via rammed aggregate piers. And this machine is the main force behind that provides that need for the parking garage. So the piece of machinery wasn't required for the spiritual structure. However, we will utilize it for the parking deck, and it is necessary for the parking deck project to ensure the foundations are properly supporting the weight of the precast parking deck. Essentially, the machine will drill down into the ground with a hollow bit, and as it is pulled up, grout will fill the location voided, which allows that required foundation support. And this piece of equipment will mobilize to the project site at the parking garage on mid-September, so we will take plenty of photos and videos and share that along with you all as well. And again, thank you guys for having us, having our team, and on behalf of the Gilbane-Henderson team, we're excited to be here, and we appreciate the opportunity. And with that, up next is Gayle with a communications update.
Thank you, Austin. We're really lucky to have these great partners with us here at Westminster Canterbury. So greetings today. I need to share some news about communications. First, I want to thank you, the 250 of you who've responded to our communications survey so far, which was available via Touchtown and via paper versions, and it will be made available for 1 more week. I am really sad to tell you that we are losing a valuable member of our communication team. Eric Price is leaving us for a new job. Not here. Eric helped grow our communication efforts in many ways, and the breadth of his top quality work has made a very positive difference. He managed our TV studio and everything related to TV 970 and 971, along with all of our digital media, which is a big part of our overall effort of sharing news and happenings. We thank Eric Price for his terrific work and for being such a great team member. We will miss him very much and wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Until we can find a new member, and his are big shoes to fill, there will be many limitations on what we can provide in all areas of our communication efforts. Rebecca and I are working together to manage the workload and determine what can continue and what will need to be on hold. As I said at the onset, your response to the communication survey is especially important as we make decisions. We will make decisions largely based on your input, with the understanding that there are many functions that were strictly part of Eric's job and that will not be possible to continue during this interim period. The survey is available through Touchtown and is the first item on the Tails tab of Touchtown. The paper version will be available at the information tables near courtesy desks or mailboxes. So I appreciate you doing that. I will also appreciate and beg for your patience as we go through this period, and I want to publicly thank Rebecca Hatch for the excellent work that she always provides. We will all certainly do our very best to keep you informed and ask you to take advantage of the Tails, the digital signage throughout campus, notices on TV 971, and the Touchtown app. If you are not already using Touchtown, we are happy to get this set up for you, and that will be a key way for you to get information. So thank you very, very much. Next up is Jason Collins, our new, well, he's not so new anymore, are you?
Thank you, Gayle. Good afternoon, residents. I'm into my fourth week now at Westminster Canterbury, and I just want to first take a few moments to thank you for the warm and sincere welcome you've given me and that I've received from so many of you. Your reputation of hospitality and kindness clearly is warranted. I've enjoyed getting out, touring the campus, getting to know my team, getting to see both the inside and outside of the facilities, and getting up to speed on all that's happening across this beautiful campus. So with that said, I have the pleasure to give you an update on a couple of enhancement projects. The first I want to talk about is our landscape capital projects. Over the next month, we'll begin those projects on landscaping, including the Gables, the Parsons Health Center, the Child Development Center, West Courtyard, and the Westbrook Avenue areas. The scope of these projects include removal of overgrown plant material, drainage improvements, and new plant installations. The new plantings will include varieties that require low maintenance and provide seasonal color and interest. Please be aware of the projects as you move throughout our campus and understand that there will be additional work crews on site, noise at times during work hours, and additional equipment and trucks on site. Thank you in advance for your understanding as work on these projects gets started and completed this fall. It is an ideal time to do this landscape work in the fall. And if you have any questions regarding these projects, these landscape projects, please feel free to reach out to Kathleen Pender, our horticulturist. Lastly, you may have noticed this week we installed 3 electric vehicle charging stations They're not fully up and running just yet, but we look forward to telling you more about how they will work at a further update soon. Thank you again, and thank you for the warm welcome I've received, and have a great weekend. And up next is David Curtis.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Curtis, one of the staff chaplains here at Westminster Canterbury, Richmond. Westminster Canterbury is a community at prayer. We are a community of prayer. Whether together or individually, I know that this community is almost constantly praying for one another, for the world, and for those in the path of natural disasters and other things. And for that, I give thanks and praise to God. So please join us this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. in the sanctuary for a hymn sing led by the Reverend Dr. William Blake and Nancy Bain. You are welcome to join us next Thursday, September the 1st at 10:30 a.m. in the sanctuary when the Reverend William Nichols from Bon Air Presbyterian Church will be with us for worship and communion. And you are welcome to join us for evening prayer, Monday through Friday at 4:45 p.m. in the Montague Chapel. All of these services are also broadcast on TV 970. When we gather for worship, masks currently are not required. However, we do recommend you consider masking during worship and singing to help keep everyone safe. Today's scripture is Psalm 143, verse 1. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Give ear to my supplications in your faithfulness. Answer me in your righteousness. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. One of the things that I love about the Psalms is that they are so very human. One can find almost the entire human condition sprinkled throughout the Psalms. Sometimes the psalmist is praising God. Other times the psalmist is in deep agony and despair. And others, the psalmist leans heavily into relationship with God, asking that prayers be heard and answered. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Like many of you, I have been praying for the people of Afghanistan and Haiti. I have been holding in prayer those who are facing wildfires in the western U.S., flooding in the Midwest and the Northeast, and for all those impacted by the Delta variants. I have been leaning heavily into relationship with God lately. It is within prayer that my mind and body and soul find the greatest peace. When I can settle in and settle down, hoping to turn off my brain, I find quiet and I find peace. I find the presence of God. Today, I hope you will find quiet and peace. Today, may you find the presence of God. And I offer you these words from St. Teresa of Avila. May today there be peace within. May you trust God that you are exactly where you are meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that are born of faith. May you use your gifts that you have received and pass on the love that has been given to you. May you be content knowing you are a child of God. Let this presence settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, praise, and love. It is there for each and every one of us. Amen. Please join us next Thursday at 3 p.m. for Westminster Canterbury Weekly.